Welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoy.
Get out. I was always so cold now. No matter how much I turned up the heat, it never made a difference. Over time, I grew used to it. I didn't love it, but I learned to live with it. The cold stayed with me deep in my bones. I miss the warmth. It's all I want anymore. Not food, not water, just to be warm. Well, that and getting these new bozos out of my life. I worked my ass off building this house, and they think they can just move in? That they can just toss all my shit out? It's a large family with 3 kids. Their eldest son, the teenager, he's the worst. He lives like a goddamn animal and watches the most depraved content on that screen. What a freak. I'm sick and tired of them. I've given up yelling at them since all they do is ignore me. Except for their dog. Whenever he sees me, he growls. I shout at him and his hair stands up on end and he runs away squealing. Sometimes I throw things around and they get scared and leave, but they always come back. Do you know what it's like to always be given the silent treatment? My ex-wife used to do this to me. It made me so lonely now. I never believe someone when they tell me they hate people. You don't. When you've been alone as long as I have, a stranger giving you a passing glance would be enough to make you cry. They don't know what true loneliness is like. I hear them again now. They're all sitting at the table with their hands intertwined, chanting gibberish together. This lady with white hair sits among them. Something in me faintly recognizes her. She's staring straight at me now, her eyes a glossy white and full of pity. I don't like the way she's looking at me. So judgmental that it makes me want to vomit. She asks me what I want. I thought I would be overjoyed at the thought of someone finally speaking to me after all these years, but instead I'm full of grief and rage. It boils up within me, and ever so slightly I feel a bit of warmth in my stomach, and I feel it rise up within me until I can't contain it anymore. My cold fists ball up and I scream as loud as I can so they can all fucking hear me this time. Get out. The mirror. Soon after lifting the tarp off of the Discovery, a cloud of dust entered my lungs, forcing me into a coughing spasm. It was worth the burn now emanating throughout my chest and throat. After all this time, I had finally found it. You had me do all this digging for this, a stupid mirror? The man complained with an old croak. I hadn't realized he was still behind me, wanting to witness the fruits of his labor. I had badgered him well to find what he thought was just an antique mirror. I paid you, didn't I? I replied. He shrugged and trotted back into the expanse of the warehouse. As I watched his reflection retreat back through the narrow aisles, snaking through boxes and mountains of old furniture, I could see that the mirror was already doing its job. In his reflection, the top of the man's head had appeared as though it were completely crushed inwards and deep red bloodstains were pouring down his back. If you really want the thing, then it's yours, he said, disappearing into the maze. I wasn't a tall woman, but the mirror towered over me a good foot and the frame felt ice cold as I propped it up on the dolly and wheeled it to the front. Loading it up took some finessing. I'm not sure how it ended up here in this backwoods antique warehouse, but I wasn't about to raise a fuss about finally locating it after all this time. An elderly woman holding a book that looked somehow older than she was sat plopped behind the cash register as I approached the exit. Her frizzled and snow-white hair made her look like she had just been struck by lightning. I don't remember bringing this in, she claimed. I'll give you $45 for it, I started, interrupting her thought process. 80. My husband really had to dig for this thing, she fired back. I was no negotiator, and I was certain she had years of bartering experience behind her from working at a place like this. "Deal," I said, reaching out my hand for hers. It was right after I let go of her hand that we heard a tremendous crash from somewhere in the warehouse. Sounds of old wood splintering and glass shattering reverberated throughout the atmosphere. The tumult shook me like an earthquake. The woman stood up with a deep concern that shone through her weathered and wrinkled eyes. "Tom? Tom?" she called out, running towards the commotion. I pulled out my wallet, fished out a $100 bill, and placed it on the counter. I didn't mind overpaying her. She'd need the extra cash for the funeral. Droplets. Sweat poured down from my temples and began dripping from my chin. I didn't realize how sweaty I was until I felt my t-shirt sticking to my lower back. I was done for now, and all that was left to do was arguably the worst part about moving. The procrastinator in me searched for something else to do other than root through the towers of cardboard boxes and seek out where I should place everything now that I had the deed in hand. I was well and truly a homeowner now. Nothing short of a miracle in this day and age. This would be the perfect time to try out the new bathtub, I thought. The towels were unpacked, at least. When I had originally scoped out the home, I had seen that the previous owners had hauled out almost everything. They took the furniture, curtains, and even the appliances, everything except the bathtub. The massive claw-foot bathtub. It was porcelain white and bright enough that it appeared to be glowing when I did the initial walkthroughs. The end of it was large and wide enough to resemble the mouth of a pitcher plant. The edges of the tub even resembled lips. My imagination pictured an enormous toad making his home there. I enjoyed its presence. It made the home feel more rustic and added a bit of personality to the home. Steam misted out into the hallway and fogged up the medicine cabinet mirror as I laid my weary body down in the tub. Warm water coated my muscles and soothed my lower back and legs. Despite how good I felt right now, my mind drifted towards acknowledging how sore I was going to feel tomorrow. My mind wandered elsewhere. What was I going to do with all this room now? I had all this space and no one to share it with. Distractions began dogpiling onto me, so I submerged myself beneath the surface. My ear canals filled with water, and all sound became the sloshing of the water and the steady drumming of my heartbeat. The easy thumping began calming me as I closed my eyes. Then I felt a strange cool sensation on the top of my head. At first, it felt like someone had placed an ice-cold washcloth on me and then increased in pressure. I tried to rise back up. My heart beat faster when I realized what was happening. Someone had placed their hand on the top of my head. A firm grip grabbed my forehead and pushed my head down further into the water. My eyes shot open, but all I could see was sloshing water. I yelled out at whoever was pushing me down, but all that emerged was a gargled mess. I clawed outwards and my hands grasped onto a long, sinewy arm. The arm was so thin, yet didn't budge at all when my fingernails ripped at the skin. The hand rebelled by pushing my head down further, hard enough that the back of my head thumped against the tub and throbbed painfully. Now I felt like I was in a vice. I felt the hand's fingernails dig deep into the top of my forehead and felt sharp wounds opening up. There were thin strips of red that started appearing in the tornado of water I was lost in. My lungs burned. Water leaked into my nose and filled my throat with salty bath water, and my eyes like they were going to explode. The entire periphery of my vision became red and pounding. just when I couldn't take anymore, just when I was about to inhale and fill my lungs with that last fatal gasp, the hand let go. I raised my head and gasped deeply. I leaned over the edge and coughed till I vomited out the gulps of water I had taken. I frantically scanned around for who did this to me, the person who snuck in and to try and drown me in my own bathtub. There was a trickle of water droplets that had led from the tub to the bathroom door and into the silver of darkness of the hallway. When I looked up, my body froze with terror. When I stared into the darkness, I caught a faint orb of white reflecting the light from the bathroom. I realized the shape was that of an eyeball, bloodshot, a sickly yellow, and crouching down to peek through the slit in the door frame. A dirty fang smile appeared below it.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to one of my videos. I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.